Hello, I'm Godbout, and I am the owner of the Race to the Moon, which is the Discord server that is responsible for the creation of the content for this YouTube channel, Space Sim TV. With the conclusion of Gemini 12, we have successfully finished our recreations of Project Gemini in its entirety, and the program was very memorable, very successful, and it took place over the course of 5 months between June 2020 and November 2020. The first mission of the program was Gemini 3, which was a manned test flight. It was commanded by Eric and piloted by Jack. The flight was unsuccessful, but it still proved the spaceworthiness of the Gemini spacecraft. The second flight of the program was Gemini 4, which was commanded by Emily Cam and piloted by Golden Star. That flight was, for the most part, successful, but the command pilot was having trouble halfway through the flight and was essentially incapacitated for the second half of the flight, forcing Golden to return to Earth and operate the spacecraft on his own. However, Golden did manage to successfully perform the first American spacewalk on that mission, just as Ed White did on the real mission. The third mission of Project Gemini was Gemini 5, which was a long-duration scientific mission commanded by Geronimo and piloted by Jack on his second Gemini spaceflight. The mission was successful in terms of task completion, but unsuccessful in terms of spacecraft status, because the crew accidentally ended up colliding with a probe known as the Rendezvous Evaluation Pod that they had deployed from their spacecraft to practice rendezvousing with. But luckily, the crew was able to repair the spacecraft and successfully continue and conclude the mission with all tasks complete. The fourth spaceflight of Project Gemini was Gemini 7. Gemini 7 was an ultra-long duration scientific mission which was commanded by myself, Godbout, and piloted by FRATF. The mission was a technical and task-wise success. However, it is commonly considered to be a very boring mission. It was definitely not one of the most eventful missions. It was 14 days of scientific experiments in orbit, and we were essentially human guinea pigs. But besides that, it was a success. The mission after Gemini 7 was Gemini 6A. Gemini 6A launched simultaneously with Gemini 7, or not simultaneously, but it launched a few days after Gemini 7 and successfully rendezvoused with it in orbit. Gemini 6A was commanded by James and piloted by Beecher, and that mission was a success. Gemini 6A successfully station kept with Gemini 7 in orbit for 5 hours. Before spending 2 more nights in orbit and then returning to Earth after 3 days in space. The mission after Gemini 6A was Gemini 8, which was a technical failure, but a logistical success. It was a technical failure because an electrical discharge in the Gemini spacecraft's orbit attitude and maneuvering system caused the thrusters to fire and enter the spacecraft into an uncontrollable tumble. The crew, however, was able to successfully recover from the tumble and aborted the mission, returning to Earth safely. Besides that technical failure, it was a logistical success because it managed to successfully achieve the first rendezvous and docking with an Agena target vehicle, which was essentially the main point of the program prior to its near-deadly tumble. Gemini 8 was commanded by James on his second Gemini spaceflight and piloted by Mars. The mission after Gemini 8 was Gemini 9A, which was commanded by Golden on his second Gemini spaceflight. He had been the pilot on Gemini 4 and was piloted by Tommy on his first spaceflight. The mission was a technical and logistical failure. First, the crew attempted to rendezvous with a backup vehicle to the Agena target vehicle known as the Agena target docking adapter after their Agena target vehicle that they were originally supposed to rendezvous with exploded on its way to orbit. To make things worse, the Agena target docking adapter, the backup vehicle that they were trying to rendezvous with, failed to fully jettison its launch shroud, which made docking impossible. However, rendezvous was still successful. The mission then attempted to perform the first spacewalk that utilized manned labor, and involved the astronaut actually working in space. And that spacewalk was unsuccessful and ended in disaster when Tommy, after suffering from exhaustion, heat stroke, and altitude sickness, accidentally removed his pressure helmet in a dazed state before the capsule was repressurized, and he was killed by decompression sickness within 40 seconds, forcing Golden to, for the second time in his spaceflight career, return to Earth alone. After Gemini 9A, the return to flight of the Gemini program was Gemini 10, which was commanded by FRATF, who had previously been the pilot on Gemini 7, and was piloted by Hammond. This mission was a success, and it successfully demonstrated the second rendezvous and docking with an Agena target vehicle, and conducted 2 spacewalks, one of which utilized manned labor to actually act as an exercise to the astronaut. However, that spacewalk also almost ended in disaster when Hammond began to get exhausted due to physical strain. However, it was cut short, and Hammond came in before his physical exertion got out of hand. The second spacewalk on the mission was a simple stand-up EVA for photography purposes. Gemini 10 was also the first mission to rendezvous and dock with 2 different spacecraft in space. Not only did it rendezvous and dock with its own independent Agena that had been launched, but it also rendezvoused and docked with the now dead Gemini 8 Agena, which had been successfully recovered from its tumble by mission control after the Gemini 8 tumble incident. However, Gemini 10 almost went south when the crew accidentally left their orientation jets in a extremely fuel-consuming mode and almost ran out of fuel. Luckily, they were able to successfully return without major issue. The mission after Gemini 10, the penultimate flight of the program, was Gemini 11, which was commanded by Geronimo, who had previously commanded Gemini 5, and was piloted by Wendelin. Gemini 11 was a technical success and a logistical success, but the mission nonetheless almost ended in disaster in a similar manner to Gemini 9A. Gemini 11 successfully rendezvoused and docked with the 4th Agena target vehicle, and it also broke the Earth orbital altitude record that still stands to this day, headed to climbing up to an apogee of almost 1,400 kilometers. However, when Wendelin was performing a spacewalk, he became physically exerted, similar to how Tommy had on Gemini 9A and how Hammond had on Gemini 10. However, instead of re-entering the spacecraft as Hammond had on Gemini 10 to prevent any possible similar incident to what had happened on Gemini 9A, Wendelin continued to push himself. And he pushed himself a little too hard, eventually collapsing from exhaustion. However, unlike Tommy, who had died because of this, Wendelin was able to successfully save himself and bring himself back into the spacecraft, although he was severely dehydrated and ended up suffering the first heart attack in space. However, after that, he spent about a day recovering, and after about a day, he was in good condition once again, and the mission completed all of its tasks successfully and returned to Earth, marking the second to last flight of Gemini. And the final Gemini flight, Gemini 12, which was commanded by myself. I had previously commanded Gemini 7 and was piloted by Navigator. Gemini 12 was an almost flawless mission. We successfully rendezvoused and docked with another Agena target vehicle. which had become essentially routine at that point because we had done it so many times. However, we had to do our rendezvous without the help of a rendezvous radar, as ours died prior to the rendezvous. It stopped working. The most important aspect of Gemini 12, though, which every flight before it had failed to prove, was Gemini 12 successfully proved that manned labor EVAs, which involved the exercise of the astronaut and the physical exertion of the astronaut, was actually possible without the astronaut becoming physically exhausted. And we accomplished this through more advanced EVA training and the addition of more handholds and footholds around the Gemini Agena vehicle. 2 of these spacewalks were performed by Navigator, while I performed the last stand-up EVA of the mission. However, Navigator performed the extremely important spacewalks of the mission. We landed successfully for the last time, marking an end to Project Gemini after about 4 days in space. And the mission was a complete and total success, and brought a very satisfying end to a very trailed and story-worthy program that was Project Gemini. So yes, those are all of the Gemini missions, and those are pretty much the summaries of all those Gemini missions. So everybody who flew as an astronaut during Gemini, everybody who worked as a flight controller during Gemini, thank you for your service to the server. Thank you for the help. It is much appreciated. And we have successfully achieved our goal on Project Gemini of helping us prep for Project Apollo, just like they did in real life, but we've also accomplished the overall goal of the server of educating people and the general public in spaceflight history and the workings of old spacecraft such as Apollo, Gemini, the Space Shuttle, Mercury, and more. Thank you.